Hey, it's Tyler from Rehab to Fab Designs, and we are back for another episode of our Clayton Mountain Cottage renovation. Today, we are going to be hanging wainscoting and wallpaper in the dining room. Okay, so we're going to use a 1x2. We are going to use a 1x3. And then in the middle here, I have a 1x4. So the 1x2 is going to sit on its side like this instead of up and down vertical. It's going to sit on its side like this to make like a kind of chair rail. And then below that, we will have the 1x4 sitting flat against the wall like this. And then below that, we will do our 1x3s vertically on the wall itself for the wainscoting. Or at least that's the plan. We'll see how it pans out, if it works with the actual wall or not. I also did go ahead and buy primed wood. I thought about getting raw wood. It's cheaper, obviously, but one, I don't want my wood grain to show through, and I don't want it to bleed because this is kind of a lighter color on the wall here. And the other reason I did it is because usually they use better boards and they're straighter. So if you've bought lumber, you know when you go in and start looking for it, you have a really hard time getting straight boards. When you start laying them out and kind of looking at them, they're warped a lot of the times. So the prime boards just seem to be a little bit better. So that's what we're going to use for this wall here. And then also for the bathroom, I got some prefab shiplap, and we're going to put that up vertically, and then we have an accent wall that we're going to do in the bedroom as well, and we'll go over all that too when we get to it. If my plans are right, I'm going to do, what did I say, 14 1/4 from the wall, and then 16. I have some chalk that I'm going to use to mark it. I would like to put tape up so I can get a good visual for how it's going to look before I put it up, but I'm afraid to put tape on fresh paint because knowing my luck, it would peel the paint right off the wall. So I'm going to use chalk. I would have bought just a normal tiny piece of white chalk, but they didn't have any, so I had to buy a box of 32 pieces of sidewalk chalk for a thing of white paint, and there's no white in it. So we're going to use yellow. Hopefully we can just wipe it right off, no issues. Then I'm going to start trying to mark this out. Use your chalk to mark where your studs are and also where your vertical boards will be. The stud finder will help you identify where the studs are behind the walls. As a reminder, this is what our dining room walls looked like before we started. The walls got a fresh coat of Drift of Mist by Sherwin-Williams. This is what it looked like afterwards. All the trim in the house was painted in extra white, also by Sherwin-Williams. Hey, it's Tyler here from Rehab to Fab Designs, and today we are going to start on the dining room. I say today, we've already been here all day. We've got the hallway mostly done, but we are going to start on the dining room. I'm trying to turn the camera here so you can see. This is going to be our accent wall in here. It's just a big old plain wall, nothing fancy. We're gonna make it fancy. I've got some paper, wallpaper peel and stick that I ordered from Amazon. I'll show you what it looks like, and then we're gonna do wainscoting in here as well. Hey. All right, so I am marking the wall where my wainscoting is gonna be here. I'm gonna put it 42 inches. The top of my vertical board will be 42 inches from my baseboard. So I'm putting a 1x4, and that 1x4 is actually 3.5 inches. So I'm measuring, first of all, that was cute, wasn't it? Let's try again. Did you see that? It's because we got the camera on. All right, so I'm gonna measure 42 inches from the bottom, from the baseboard. That's gonna put me about right here. And then I'm gonna add 3.5 inches for my 1x4, because that's how big it actually is. So that puts me to 45.5. And I'm marking 1x4, even though I really don't have to, because we know. And then your next board will be a 1x2 flipped on its side, which is actually 3/4 of a 3/4 of an inch instead of a whole inch, so 1x2. Okay, and so I'm just doing that all along the wall here, so I know where my paper needs to come down to. So I know that my paper is going to come just below this line here because I don't want to cut it too close. And then I'm not really worried about what's under it because we're going to go by this for the marks for the wainscoting. Move down the length of your wall to indicate where your paper needs to fall to at a minimum to make sure you don't cut it too short. Next, we came back along the wall using our board and a level to mark a straight line all the way across where our top board would be. All right, so this is the wallpaper I picked for the dining room. This is also from New Wallpaper. It's a peel and stick. It came off of Amazon as well, and I think the design is called M-I-R-E-I, Myray, not sure. But it's really pretty. It kind of looks like a kind of grass weave type paper. It looks really textured. Has some blues in it, and also this cute kind of I was gonna say lime green, but it might actually be yellow. It looks green on the computer, but I think it's yellow. So I'm gonna try to get it open without cutting my fingers off. And let's see what it looks like. Oh, and it almost looks like cotton blossoms. Green or yellow? Let's call it chartreuse. Super cute though, right? Can't wait to get this one up. You're gonna need, this is peel and stick wallpaper. It's super easy. So you just peel the backing off and place it where you want it and apply it and then kind of rub it down. You'll need some scissors to cut and also a sharp blade. So a box cutter works great, so we can cut it along the trim and the corners and creases. So I have a guideline marked here where my paper needs to fall below because we're also gonna put some wainscoting up. So I just need to make sure that I cut my paper so it comes down below this line. Start by unrolling your wallpaper and giving yourself a small overlap like you see here at the top, so you make sure you have plenty of paper without cutting it too short. Finally, a whole minute later, I can get the backing off. So after you finally get it started, about 20 minutes later, you can peel the backing off here, and I'm gonna try to do it in a straight line so it comes off a little smoother, like so. Get our piece started up in the top, and then we'll work from there. Once you get the backing pulled off, start in your upper corner. Make sure you have it nice and straight, and then simply peel the backing off and pull it down as you go. Next, you're going to take your next piece, line up your design, and then do the same thing and repeat this process all across the wall, making sure your design lines up. It will tell you on the package how far the design repeats ever so many inches. That way you know how much to figure out that you need for your project. When applying paper, it's very important to make sure you don't have any air bubbles up underneath it. So once you get it in place and you're happy with it, you can use a squeegee or an old credit card or something similar in shape and size to run along the paper to help press it down and press out any air bubbles. This wall was pretty straight and level here, and I didn't have any issues. So once I would get it up, I would just kind of run my hand over it to seal it down, and it did well. Next, you're going to take your box cutter and cut off the excess paper along the top of the wall, and this is what it should look like when you're done. Okay, we are back on another day to start on the dining room wall here. I got the wallpaper hung yesterday before we had to leave to go pick up kids from school. So today we are going to measure it out, and my husband's going to cut wood for me so we can start working on the wainscoting. So we'll have 1x3 vertical boards for the wainscoting. We'll have a 1x4 flipped on its side to go above that, and then just above that we'll do a 1x2 flipped on the side, so the shorter side shows on top of that for like a chair rail kind of thing. Okay, so instead of leaving it, we're going to use 2 boards to put together in the dining room because the wall is longer than the boards are. And so instead of leaving it with these blunt cut ends like how it comes when we bought it from Home Depot, my husband's actually cutting them on a 45-degree angle That way we can put them together like this, and then you have a nice smooth seam instead of it being blunt and jagged and kind of edgy like that. Here's a video of what it looks like cutting the boards on a 45-degree angle. Woohoo! We're finally getting somewhere. So we're going to start with our 1x4 that's going to go flat flush on the wall just like so. Make sure you're using your level so you can make sure your board is nice and straight. Once you get it in place, we're going to use our Ryobi airstrike to nail it in place. Again, make sure you have your studs marked if you haven't done this already. We actually covered up our markings when we put the wallpaper down, so we had to go back and mark them once again. Also, before applying your board to the wall and nailing it into place, make sure you use liquid nails on the back of the board to help it also stay in place. Next, do a little dance to celebrate. Yes. Yes. All right, so my markings for the dining room. If I did them right, hopefully I did since I did good in the hallway. We're going to do 14.25 inches from the wall on both sides, and then every 16 inches in between, and that'll account for our 1x3, which is actually 2.5 inches. And we should end up with 142 inches exactly, which is how long the wall is. Okay, so I'm going to come in and use dry deck spackling on the areas where we shot nails. We did end up having to move our board. This is an old house and nothing is level. So the ceiling's off, the floor is off, and we put our boards up, as you could see in the video, with the level on top and leveled it perfectly. And when we got done and stepped back and looked at it, it was going like this. So there was about at least 1.5 inches difference between the top trim and the trim we just set on the right side and the left, which was very visible. So we had to use a hammer, pull it back off, and readjust it, and basically did it more by eyeball because I could get it straighter that way than with the level, obviously. So now it's good. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to fill the holes from the mini nails that we put in and removed and put in again, so that we can get ready for paint. And I used the other product the other day, but I don't really like it as much. It's harder to rub in. This is just a little easier for me, so this is what I'm going to use. Use your putty knife to pick up a small amount of your spackling. Apply the spackling into each hole that you made when you shot your nails into the board to hold it into place. Apply enough so that it goes down into the hole, even though it is quite shallow. Once you've got it all covered and it looks level, you're going to use your putty knife and just swipe right back over the spackling to remove any excess that's left on the board. It's not going to hurt if you leave it on here. However, it does mean that whatever is left over in excess around your holes, you're going to have to sand off afterward. So just scrape it off as you go and work smarter instead of harder. All right, so Vicente has been hard at work cutting my 1x3s. In a perfect world, you could just measure and know that you want to make them, for example, 42 inches tall and cut them all 42 inches tall. But we can't do that in this house because, like I said previously, the floors and the ceilings are not level. So we're basically having to measure. We measured off how far apart we're putting them. I think we did like 14.25 from each wall end, and then 16 inches in between each vertical board. So he's basically measuring in between where those boards are going to be, so he can cut the 1x3 to length so that it fits flush with the baseboard and the trim at each spot, because they're all a little bit different. Once you get your boards cut, you're going to apply them to the wall where we previously marked where each one would go. Make sure you're using your level to make sure your board is nice and straight, because the worst thing you can do is put it up and then stand back and look at it and realize that it's not in fact straight and you have to start over. So level it as you go. Once you're ready to put it in place, you're going to apply your liquid nails on the back. Sorry, I should have said that first. Apply your liquid nails to the back of your board beforehand, put it into place, make sure it's nice and level, and then use your Ryobi airstrike and a 1.5 inch nail to shoot through the 1x3 and adhere it to the wall. Continue doing this down the wall until you have all your boards in place. Look how pretty it's going to be. Okay, so we got all our wainscoting on, and next up is caulking, and you can see my hubby doing it here. We're running along both sides of each 1x3, and then along the bottom of the 1x4, and then the top of the 1x4 as well, and then we'll start painting. Using your caulk gun, apply caulk down the seam of every board. This helps seal it if there are any issues with it being unlevel, so you don't have any gaps between the wall and the boards themselves. Once you apply it, you can come back with your finger and run your finger down the line of caulk, and this will smooth it out and give you a nice finished look. Next up is paint. These boards again were primed and ready to begin with, and they were already white, but the sheen of course does not match that of the rest of the trim in the house, so I'm using my roller. It's a 3/8 of an inch nap. I believe it was a Sherwin-Williams roller, and applying my trim paint that has a higher sheen to it. The only other thing we did to this wall was come back and add our 1x2 across the top of the 1x4. We did the same thing to put it into place. We measured and cut because we had to use 2 to fill the whole wall. Applied liquid nails to the back of it, placed it on the wall on its side directly on top of the 1x4, and then nailed it into place again using our 1.5 inch nails and our Ryobi airstrike nail gun. Here are some completed photos of the new wainscoting we added to the dining wall and also the wall opposite it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video tutorial. Please continue to follow along with us on our YouTube channel for all the makeovers at this Clayton cottage. Thanks for watching and happy DIYing.